Hey guys, well, it looks like I'm going to be doing a Godzilla vs. Kong thoughts video. And no, it is not an April Fool's joke. I saw the film last night in theaters, and I just kind of asked you guys on Twitter and Facebook, which you should totally follow me, by the way, so you can get updates and all that kind of stuff. And I asked you guys if you wanted me to actually if you guys would be interested in seeing a thoughts video from me. And obviously a lot of you guys were like, yeah. So I decided to do that. Yeah, let's give the people what they want. So yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong, here we are finally after what it seems like years of waiting and delays and all that kind of stuff. We're finally here. We get to see this clash of the titans and get to see who is the true victor. Although, do we in this film? I also want to state that this video will have some spoilers. I will probably say when I'm about to spoil, just so that you are aware if you haven't seen the film yet. But I would just say before watching this video, it would probably be a good idea to go watch the film first. So my overall thoughts on the movie, real quick, I really enjoyed it, actually. I did say on Twitter and Facebook that I was split on the film, but I've had time to digest the movie. I've had time to sit and think about it and all that. So I still have a few nitpicks and definitely one big thing that I disagree with completely in the film. But overall, I actually really enjoyed it. And to be honest, it actually is my favorite film out of the MonsterVerse series. No joke. I'll go into like kind of I'll rank the films towards the end of the video, but just real quick, like yeah, this film just kind of checked all the boxes for me. It had great action. It actually had pretty good human scenes. Like I was actually kind of invested in the human parts. The effects were amazing. The music was really well done. Just there's really not much that I didn't like about the film. There are just, like I said, a few things that I'll get into later, but that kind of deals with spoiler territory, so just keep that in mind. As far as the story is concerned, I'm not going to go too in-depth with it because, once again, I'm not trying to make this a review. I'm just trying to keep it as like a thoughts first impression kind of video. But I thought the story was serviceable. It is the kind of movie that you don't want to go into with your brain turned on. You want to turn your brain off. You just want to go in there and have fun. Like it is a stupid movie. Like it's dumb action fun, corny. Like there's a lot of leaps of logic and just certain things like that. If you go into this movie expecting something that's like gonna make you think or something that's deep and philosophical, you're gonna be very disappointed. And if you go into it trying to analyze every little thing, you're also gonna get a headache. So if you haven't seen the film yet, I highly recommend going into it with an open mind and definitely your brain turned off and just be ready to experience just two giant monsters fight each other. I mean, just really think about it, guys. Really think about the fact that this is a giant dinosaur fighting a giant ape. That's how dumb this movie is. So as far as, like I said, the story I thought was serviceable. You know, we got to go a little bit in depth with Kong's backstory, which I thought was really cool. We got to kind of see, you know, a little bit how his origins were, like, or mainly how his parents' origins were. So I thought that was nice, especially because Kong has only had one movie in this series and Godzilla has had two, and so that's I guess one of the nitpicks I have is the fact that this film definitely felt more like a Kong film and Godzilla was kind of there on the side. But the stuff that they do with Kong I actually thought was very enjoyable because I do love Skull Island, and the fact that we get to see more of that development I thought was very well done. So I like how they managed to give Kong a little bit more screen time because he hasn't had two films like Godzilla has. So I thought that a little bit of a nitpick. I would have loved to have Godzilla more of a prominent role, but I get it. I understand. I mean, and as far as Godzilla, like in the trailers, the one thing that I was super excited about was the fact that Godzilla this time around just seems like he's pissed off and something is bothering him or whatever. And like that is the thing that I've been wanting so much from this MonsterVerse series is just from this legendary Godzilla version. Like this incarnation of Godzilla, I've always kind of been lukewarm on because I like Godzilla being like the god of destruction. I like him going through a city, destroying it, and just kind of, showing humans, who's top dog and all that. I'm not a big fan of this Godzilla that's kind of like this force of nature, he's like a protector of humans and all that stuff. So I really liked how, really for the first time in this whole MonsterVerse series, and at least with this incarnation of Godzilla, we've got to really see a real like Toho style Godzilla, where he's Godzilla. Like, to me, this is what Godzilla is, you know? He's mean, he's just ugh, no other words I can describe. And of course, I think it makes sense that they made Godzilla like that, because obviously you had to make Kong, you had to kind of humanize him a little bit more. So I understand that, you know, Godzilla kind of had to be more of the bad guy in order for King Kong to kind of be that underdog and whatever. But I don't really see Godzilla as he wasn't a bad guy in this film, obviously. He was your anti-hero. To me, honestly, this was like the closest Heisei version of Godzilla you could get. You know, he's there, he has his purpose, he's not there to completely destroy everything, but he's also not really on the human side. And then when it comes to the human drama and the human scenes and all that, I actually really enjoyed that too. I thought this film balanced very well between the kaiju action and the human drama. And I think I really liked how they set things up, how you had you had a group of characters who were in Kong's area, and then you had a group of characters that were in Godzilla's area. So I really liked how they balanced between those characters and their scenes. And there were some returning characters from King of the Monsters, which I really liked, and then there were a lot of new characters. One of the characters that I really liked especially was actually the little girl that we saw in the trailer, and you know, she was like holding that little Kong doll or whatever. But what was really unique about her is that she actually is deaf. She can do sign language. And what was really cool in the movie is that she actually communicates with Kong through sign language. So that was very unique. I've never really seen anything like that before in a kaiju movie. So once again, the human drama I thought was very well done. Really, there's only a few nitpicks I have when it comes to the human drama, and that would be the fact that there are a lack of mentions of certain characters from the previous films. The one thing that I you know was a little bit disappointed was the fact that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Ford didn't show up at all. I just think it's so odd that they've just completely forgotten about that character. And I get it, he wasn't a fan favorite, and I know that a lot of people didn't really care about his acting, but I still feel like he played an important role in the first film, and I just feel like at least a mention or something would have been serviceable. Same thing can go for Dr. Serizawa. He, you know, sacrificed himself in the last film, and once again, I just feel like a mention or something about him would have helped connect these films even more. And connecting, or I guess relating to Dr. Serizawa's character, also Serizawa's son, I believe, is in this, and he's working for this company that's called the Apex organization, which also they just kind of pop up out of nowhere. They for some reason were not around during the first two films, but now they're here. But I'll get in a little bit into that later in the spoiler territory. But yeah, apparently Dr. Serizawa's son is in this movie, and he doesn't do much at all. So that was kind of a wasted opportunity there. With that character. One of the other characters that I kind of wish was mentioned or showed up was the bad guy from the last film as well, Alan Jonah, I think, the terrorist guy who worked with the mother in the last one to unleash all the kaiju. Once again, was not mentioned and had no appearance at all. So it's like, okay, what happened to him? Like there's just a lot of like characters that just weren't mentioned or just kind of disappeared. And I feel like if this is supposed to wrap up the MonsterVerse, or if this is supposed to be like the grand finale of something, I feel like you need to at least address some of those things. So once again, nitpicks, not a huge deal. So then I want to talk a little bit about the music. The music I thought was amazing. You know, the composer for this film, Tom something, I once again cannot remember his name, but the composer who did the music for this film, I thought it was amazing. I know a lot of people are a little bit disappointed that it's not on the same stature as Bear McCready's music, but I'm actually kind of okay the fact that this composer didn't try to replicate Bear McCready. Even Alexander from 2014. I'm happy that he didn't try to replicate those, because it gives the film its own identity, its own unique identity with sound wise. And the character themes I thought were great. Kong's theme was awesome, and Godzilla's theme was awesome. I've listened to the soundtrack on Spotify, and I thought it'd sound great. Godzilla's theme definitely has more of a it's his theme, but kind of heavily modified, and I like that. It sounded very Showa-esque, like kind of in like the 70s era when Godzilla's theme was there, but it was like in Godzilla versus Hedorah, like that. Like his theme is there, but it's very like drawn out and kind of more bassy or something. I don't know. I'm not an audio expert, so I can't really analyze music like that. But I like the music. I really have no issues with that. And then as far as the action's concerned, that's one of the biggest things that I loved about this film. The fight between Godzilla and Kong. I mean, you get literally like 2 fights with them, and then there's another fight that I'll talk about later. But the fighting and the cinematography and the just the overall look and lighting and it all is just so amazing to watch. And I was really happy that I was able to watch it in the theaters, because I know a lot of people right now with COVID, they can't really go see the theater, which I'm very happy that Warner Brothers managed to put this out on HBO Max. But I'm fortunate enough to where one of my theaters here was actually open and had it. So being able to see it on the big screen was very exciting. And just visually stunning, the best looking film in the MonsterVerse. There are so many shots in this film that you could take a screenshot and put it as your wallpaper. Like, it's just gorgeous scenes here. I guess talking about Godzilla himself, once again, like I said, Godzilla being this just powerful kind of villainous character now, I love that. And Kong, being this very humanized character, being, definitely the underdog. But once again, learning a lot more about his past and his parents being killed by a bunch of skull crawlers back in the day, which I guess was probably talked about in some kind of comic or novel, whatever. But, that's extended lore stuff. But I think the two of them were amazing, characterized, especially during their fight scene. Like I once again, I don't want to spoil too much, but the fighting in this is so physical. Like that's one thing that's really great about the MonsterVerse series, is that the monster fights have been very physical. It hasn't just been a bunch of beam spamming. It's been kind of a good mix of both. And Godzilla definitely does a lot more beam spamming in this film, but he also is very agile and fast, like quick. He's not super slow like he was in 2014. And I think it has to do with King of the Monsters, the fact that they made Godzilla a little bit more active and a little bit more quicker when he's fighting other monsters. So I think because of the last film, they kind of took that for this one. They're like, yeah, let's make Godzilla, because obviously King Kong is going to jump around and do all this kind of stuff. So I think it was good that Godzilla was able to kind of keep up with Kong, just doing like headbutting and biting and using his tail. And it's really, really cool. It's hard to describe. Once again, you have to see it for yourself. And then, I really think that's it as far as, in terms of non-spoiler stuff. Like I said, guys, this movie is my favorite out of the MonsterVerse. So before I get into spoiler territory, so warning, spoilers coming up, I will kind of like rank these films. Honestly, to me, I would say it would be Godzilla vs. Kong, number 1, Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, then Godzilla 2014. So that's kind of like my rank when it comes to all of these films in my order. So okay, so now I'm getting into some spoiler territory here. So if you don't want to know anything else, then click off the video. But if you have, then feel free and we can discuss in the comments. So this is a little bit of the parts that I have some issues with. First off, who won is my biggest thing here. My biggest concern, and I've talked about this for many years, honestly, ever since the film was announced, my biggest thing and worry was that I don't want to see Godzilla and Kong team up. I don't want them to pull a Batman versus Superman where all of a sudden there's this other thing that comes out of nowhere, and then both of them have to forget their differences and fight that other thing. I guess it works for Batman versus Superman because they're both superheroes, and that's just kind of what they do. And even in that film, there was just kind of a misunderstanding. I don't know if you guys can hear an ambulance out there. Anyways, but these guys, like, these are monsters, all right? These are giant monsters. They're out for blood. They don't care. Like, they're not superheroes. So I didn't want them to team up. And of course, what happens in the film is they do team up. And that's because of, we all know, I guess it's not really a spoiler at this point, but Mechagodzilla is in the film. And this is one of the things that I was just so nervous about. I was like, man, Mechagodzilla being in this, I'm split on this. I think this is why I said in my Twitter post that I was split, because on one hand, it's awesome as a Godzilla fan to see a major Hollywood high budget Mechagodzilla version. And I'm not talking about the Ready Player One Mechagodzilla. I don't count that because that whole film was just a commercial advertisement anyways. No, this is like the first big major Mechagodzilla, American Mechagodzilla Hollywood thing. So it was really cool to see that. But then on the other hand, I just wanted to see Godzilla and Kong. Mechagodzilla just kind of pops out of nowhere, and like that's it, you know. And the whole Apex organization, and you can see it a mile away. As soon as the film starts, they start talking about Apex, and you see the villain. Now the villain's very cartoony, but to be honest, we've seen these kind of villains before in Godzilla films. You have the greedy businessman who's, you know, out just for himself, and he thinks he can take on Godzilla and all that stuff. But what's interesting is that he uses Mechagodzilla in a way to replace Godzilla as the character that like balances out nature or something like that. Like, he doesn't want Godzilla to do it. He wants Mechagodzilla to be the thing. Mechagodzilla being in this just kind of throws a wrench in the whole idea of these two characters fighting each other and literally fighting to the death, or to see who is the definitive winner, because now you have that issue where, oh, now it's a bigger enemy, so now Godzilla and Kong have to team up and fight him. It was funny because I brought my girlfriend to see this with me, and of course she knew about my, you know, hesitation or my worry that they would team up. And so literally we're watching the film, and hold on, let me back up the track here. So the fight between Godzilla and Kong, the first fight when they're on the ocean area and they're on the battleships and all that stuff, amazing first battle. I loved that first battle scene. I think for the first time, it was actually like an amazing, well done underwater fight scene. I'm not really a big fan of Godzilla when they fight underwater. It's weird and too slow and all that. But man, they made it work in this battle, and it was tense. I kind of felt worried for Kong because obviously that's Godzilla's territory, and so Godzilla's like swimming around, he's grabbing Kong, and Kong's trying to get up for air and stuff, and it was just a really awesome battle. So that one was really good, and technically Godzilla won that round. And then they have their second battle, which we've all seen in the trailers, the Hong Kong battle. And this is technically where like the last two rounds. So technically in this film, there's like 3 rounds for these characters. Godzilla wins the first one. Technically, Kong wins the second round because he gets the axe that, once again, we've all seen. This isn't really a spoiler, but he has the axe that has a dorsal plate of Godzilla's. He has the axe that has Godzilla's dorsal plate on it as the blade part. And there's a really cool backstory. A little side note: there's a really cool backstory with the axe and Godzilla's dorsal plates, and there's like this whole when King Kong goes into the Hollow Earth area, which is also another big thing. I can't believe I forgot about this, but this whole Hollow Earth theory thing is actually way crazier than I originally thought it was. I thought it was just a bunch of like tunnels that went into the earth and went out the other side or something like that. No, this is it's kind of like a other dimension kind of area. You go through and you just like fly in, and then you pop out, and it's like there's like a ceiling of it's like you have this mountain area, and then you have another mountain area that's in the sky, and then if you go past a certain area on the horizon, you kind of flip, the gravity flips, and then you go to the surface area, and then it's trippy, but really cool setting. And I wish we could have seen more about the past. Like, I wanted to see more of like this supposed war between the Kongs and the Godzillas, like if there were more than them and there was like this big war that happened, because that's how they were able to get the with the axes and all that. So really cool stuff there. I really wish we could have seen that in the film, but they'll probably do something in a comic form or whatever. So anyways, so as soon as Kong gets the axe and he gets it charged up because Godzilla blasts it and with his atomic breath, and he's able to do that, that money shot that we see in the trailer where he's like, jumping up and then he slams Godzilla and all that. He does kind of win that round, and they actually explicitly say in the film, the characters are like, oh, Kong won the second round. So they're kind of like counting, they're kind of keeping a tally. But then Godzilla definitely comes back, and this is the part that I got very tense on, because if at all, if Kong would have won, I would have been fine. I wouldn't have been upset. I would have been like, as long as it's a good movie, as long as it's fun and all that stuff, it would be okay. But if Godzilla won, of course I would be happy because I was Team Godzilla. I'm still in Team Godzilla. So this scene kind of confused me, and this is where it's very heavily spoiler territory. So once again, make sure that there's the scene where Godzilla just beats Kong down, and they actually show it in the trailer a little bit where they're both screaming at each other, like Godzilla's here and then Kong's here, and they're both like, brah, you remember that trailer scene. That's actually the part where supposedly Godzilla wins, and I say wins with quotation marks because to me it just didn't seem like a super satisfying win to me, or like a closure on that fight. I mean, Godzilla's like stepping on Kong, and he's like, I guess Godzilla's like yelling at him saying submit, and then Kong's finally like, okay, fine, you win. And then that's when Godzilla he stands up and he's like, that's right, and he walks off. And then Kong kind of stumbles up, and then he falls back down. And I'm not sure if that indicates that Godzilla did win definitively, but it just felt odd because Kong he is dying. It's up to the humans that actually resuscitate him, and he does come back alive to help Godzilla to fight Mechagodzilla. But so that's why it just feels like it's not that definitive of a win, because I guess I'm just dark in a way where I just wanted someone to die. I guess I just really wanted to see one of them kill each other. I wanted a fight to the death, really. So maybe I'm just really violent or something. But and so of course, as soon as King Kong comes back alive, and I look over to my girlfriend and I'm like this. I'm like, they're gonna team up, aren't they? And then she just starts laughing because she knows that I'm worried about that. And then of course, as soon as Mechagodzilla pops up and Godzilla's fighting him, and of course Godzilla's getting his ass kicked because whatever, Kong all of a sudden jumps up on Mechagodzilla and starts beating him up, and of course they team up. And so I'm just sitting there in the theater just going like, of course they did it, they did it. And my girlfriend's just over here laughing. She's just having a great time. So I don't know. That's why I'm split on this, because it was really cool. Once again, on one hand, it was really cool to see them team up and to just see the imagery of Mechagodzilla having to fight King Kong and Godzilla at the same time. That was a cool image. I thought that was really cool to witness. But at the same time, there's a part of me that just wishes it was just those two, Godzilla and Kong, and that there was a really major definitive winner. I'm assuming Godzilla really won the whole thing, because then even after the Battle of Mechagodzilla, when they kill him, King Kong is he's all tired and he's sitting up against a building, and Godzilla comes up to him and they both kind of stare at each other, and King Kong grabs the axe again, but then he's kind of okay, fine. He puts the axe down, and then Godzilla's like, that's right, bitch. And then and then once again turns around and goes into the ocean. So I'm assuming that means that Kong submitted to Godzilla, which means that Godzilla is still the king of the monsters, which makes sense because that's what he is. But it's just so... This movie has a happy ending, and it's just kind of weird to me. I just... the original King Kong versus Godzilla, there at least was a little more of you didn't see Godzilla at the end. You saw them both fall into the ocean, and then Kong rises up, and you don't hear Godzilla. So you kind of assume that Kong won, which Toho even, I'm pretty sure that they have definitely confirmed that Kong won that. But that seemed a little more definitive to me compared to this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking too much into it. Maybe really it is just that surface value of the two of them communicating when Godzilla was screaming at him, and then Kong was like, fine, you win, and then he gets up. Maybe that really was the director saying, yes, this is how we're illustrating who the winner is. Which in the case, yay, Godzilla wins, yeah, Team Godzilla. But Kong saves him in the end. So technically, Godzilla couldn't take on Mechagodzilla without King Kong. So it's like they're on equal footing still. Like, because Kong got the final blow on Mechagodzilla, which I was a little bit disappointed on that too. I'm like, he's just hitting him with the axe and all that. And he went, they take out Mechagodzilla like that, but I don't know. So I'm rambling at this point. I don't want this video to be too long, but I just, I'm a little disappointed of how the final battle went on. Still though, amazing final battle still. Very entertaining, very well done, very well executed. This movie is just amazing. I can't wait to buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out. I'm going to rewatch it. I'm also probably going to rewatch it with my parents again soon, or with my parents soon here. So I'm probably going to watch the film maybe in like the next couple weeks or so. But yeah, I mean, it was a good film. So to wrap everything up before this goes into almost 30 minutes of a thoughts video, I really did enjoy it. I really did. Once again, besides those few nitpicks I had, this film was amazing to me, and it honestly exceeded my expectations, because like I said, I went into the film with low expectations, not really expecting much because I really didn't know what they would do. But I came out very satisfied. I think that if this is the end of the MonsterVerse, I think it's a perfect way to go out. I think it's going out with a bang. I'm very satisfied. I don't need to see any other MonsterVerse films if they're not going to. If they are, then cool. Like I'm really excited to see if they, if they do decide to do more with Kong, if they do more with Godzilla, I'm totally up for that. But if this is the end of the MonsterVerse, I'm totally cool with that too. Because we also have Godzilla Singular Point coming out right now. So, Godzilla's still doing stuff. And then Kong is supposedly supposed to have a Netflix series with Monarch or something like that. I don't really know. That's a lot of information that I don't really know. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm so sorry that this is almost a 30-minute video, but I really wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. Once again, it doesn't mean I'm going to be making a bunch of Godzilla videos here in the future. It's just a major Godzilla release, and why not? It's like good old times, and just to make an unscripted thoughts video about the film and all that. So, let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the video. We can have, or what you thought of the movie. We can have a discussion. And I'm actually probably going to, even though I said on this channel, I'm not really going to be making a lot more videos about this. There are still going to be some things in the future that are going to come up. Probably on Kenshin, and also maybe some other channels that I'll be a part of that will be discussing more of Godzilla vs. Kong. So stay tuned to that. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, I guess Godzilla won. Woo! All right. See you guys later.